Many of my podcast episodes really start when somebody is saying something or asking me something. And this one is no different. This one started when somebody in a very decisive way said, you can't trust someone you don't respect, period. That's it. And as I'm thinking about my own framework of the relative trust model, I could immediately disagree, but I prefer to listen first. You know, trust and respect are definitely related, but they are two different things. You can, in fact, trust someone that you don't respect, and you can respect someone that you don't trust. And in this episode, I will describe the two terms. I will explain how they're similar, how they're different, the relationship between the two, and I'll give you examples of when you can trust someone you don't respect and when you can respect someone you don't trust. Right after this. Welcome to The Trust Show. I'm Yoram Solomon, your host, the author of the Book of Trust and facilitator of the Trust Habits Workshop. My mission is simple. I want to help you form habits that build your trustworthiness, because the answer to this question will have the biggest impact on your personal and professional success or failure. Can I trust you? Let's start with defining what is trust. And I'm going to give you my definition because you already know that I tried a lot of definitions when I wrote the Book of Trust and came up with my own definition of what trust is. I researched a lot of definitions before. And, you know, I'll have to first start by saying that to some extent, this is a game of definitions. We have to be on the same page on how we define trust and how we define respect. So I'll start. I'm not going to give you dictionary definitions for trust because those are useless. I'm not going to give you the whole summary of previous definitions of trust all the way back to 40, 50 years ago. But what I'll do is I'll give you my definition. And my definition is that trust is my willingness to accept the possibility of negative consequences of giving control over something I have to another person or thing, expecting them to minimize that possibility. So again, it's willingness to accept the possibility of negative consequences. This is kind of the risk that we're taking for giving control over something that I have. This could be my money. This could be my life. If I'm putting my life in the hands of another fellow soldier, for example, with an expectation, there is an expectation here that they will minimize the possibility of those negative consequences. Now, I'll have to go back to why do we trust? And this goes back into my definition of, you heard the phrase, no risk, no reward, right? If you want reward, you need to take some risk, because typically rewards don't come with no risk. And the risk could be different things: financial risk, life risk, other types of risk, relationship risk. But it starts with, you want to get a reward, you have to take a certain risk, and everything is fine as long as you know that you can handle it. But when you can't handle it, this is where you need to trust somebody else that would bridge the gap from the level of risk that you need to take to get this reward that you're after, and to go above your risk tolerance level. So, there's a certain amount of risk that I'm willing to take all by myself, but if the level of risk that I need for a certain reward is bigger than that, then I need somebody to bridge that gap, and that means that I need to trust somebody. And I think that from this definition, one thing that you notice is that there is a component of reliance or dependency. It's not enough that I'm willing to accept negative consequences, but there is the expectation that the person I trust will minimize that possibility. So they will be both willing and capable to minimize that possibility. So I described trust. How about respect? What's respect? This time I am going to go to dictionary definitions. So I'll start with Merriam-Webster. They refer to respect as high or special regard that I have towards another person. They actually didn't say person. Cambridge Dictionary. Admiration felt or shown for someone or something that you believe has good ideas or qualities. So first of all, there's an interesting wording there, felt or shown. It's not felt and shown, it's felt or shown. So I guess what they're saying is that I can show respect without feeling respect towards somebody. They also say somebody or someone or something, which is interesting. And they go more specifically about the thing that I hold this high or special regard or admiration is that they have good ideas or good qualities. Britannica Encyclopedia refers to respect as a feeling of admiring someone or something that is good, valuable, important, etc. So I really like that definition a little better. But one thing that you'll notice, they all talk about high or special regard, admiration, felt, feeling of admiring someone. What's missing there compared to the definition of trust? Dependency. The willingness to give control. But most importantly, it's dependency. It's the fact that I depend on them, that I rely on them to minimize the possibility of negative consequences to me. You will also notice that it's more kind of focused on something as opposed to respect, and that's trust, as opposed to respect is broader and not in the context of a specific action. Now, how is trust and respect, how are trust and respect similar? So first of all, they're important. They're both important to have a meaningful, it's easier to write than to say, a meaningful relationship and collaboration. If you don't respect someone, it's hard to have a meaningful relationship with them or to collaborate with them. If you can't trust them, you can't have a collaboration. They don't jump up to the top smaller group of people that you have a meaningful relationship with. So they're both important for meaningful relationships and or collaboration. They both affect social interactions and dynamics between people. You know, there are certain interactions and dynamics when there's low trust or low respect. There are different dynamics and interactions when you have high trust or high respect. And I say or, not necessarily both of them. They require work. You need to work on them, to develop them, and to maintain them. I mean, if you want to be respected, you have to work on it. You're not just going to be respected because, you know, you are something. So both trust and respect have to be developed, and you can't just leave them. You have to maintain them to keep their level. They have some of the same components. You know, you may respect people who are no BS people, and no BS is part of the what you do during an interaction component of trust. Empathy, you may respect someone for being empathetic to you or to other people. You need that for trust. The amount of time and intimacy is what would allow you to develop both trust and respect, and so on. So they can rely on the same components, or I should say the same categories of components, not just the same components, the same categories of components. They are both required for personal growth. If you want to grow personally and professionally, you have to have trust and respect. Both are needed. And they both play roles in conflict resolution. When you try to resolve a conflict, whether it's with the other person or a third party trying to mediate between you, you need to respect and trust the other side or that third party. So these are the things in which trust and respect are similar. Now, how are trust and respect different? So, first of all, the definition itself, trust is more about, or not more, but it includes the components of reliance and dependence, whereas respect is more about esteem and regard. Okay? Trust is associated with risk. To trust someone, you trust them to bridge that risk gap. Respect has nothing to do with risk. Now, because respect doesn't have the reliance and dependence components, and because it's not associated with risk, it's actually easier to respect someone than to trust them. I respect this thing about someone, but, there are still things that are missing for me to be able to trust them. Trust can affect the depth of a relationship, whereas respect can affect the harmony, the interaction, the wording that's being used, the tone that's being used. So respect can be in many times more superficial and broad, whereas trust is more narrow and deep. Oh, I like that definition. Trust requires all the components of the model, my relative trust model. It requires the competence, the personality compatibility, the symmetry, who you are, and it also requires the positivity that's made of no BS and empathy. It requires the time and intimacy. It requires all of them. Trust requires all of them. Respect can be more detached and maybe related to only certain aspects. I can respect someone who is very competent, but not trust them because some of the other components don't exist, such as personality compatibility. Here are three more things that I think are interesting. Respect is more backward looking. It's more towards the achievements and things that you have done in the past that would make me respect you. Trust is more forward looking. It's what you will do in the future for me or for other people. Trust is more specific towards something towards a very specific action. Whereas, as I said before, trust is more, respect is more general. And now we get to the crux of this episode. Two big questions. I'll start with the first one. Can you respect someone that you don't trust? This one is actually easier, so I'm starting with this one because trust has the added requirement of dependability and reliability. I need to be able to depend on you. I need to rely on you. And therefore, respect is kind of a subset of trust. So I can respect your competence, but as I said, I don't see enough personality compatibility and empathy for me to trust you. So here's an example. You're very good at your job. I respect you. I respect your competence. But I don't feel that you care enough about me, so I don't trust you enough to give you control over something that I have, because I really don't have that expectation that you will minimize my risk, which is why I trust you. So I can respect your competence, but not trust you. We have to remember that they're both relative and they're both contextual. So I can trust you to do certain things, but not others. I can respect you for other things, but not certain things. So there could be a respect that I have for you in one area and trust in another area, which means that I can trust you in a certain area, but not respect you in that area, while at the same time respect you in another area, but not trust you in that area. So again, a few examples. I may respect you as being a great pilot, but I don't trust you as a surgeon. That's kind of trust law number 2. Trust is contextual. So I respect your piloting skills, but not trust you as a surgeon. I can respect your past achievement. Remember, one of the differences is that respect is more backward looking, whereas trust is forward looking. I can respect your past achievements, but I can't trust you today because you don't have that skill anymore. So let's say that you are a decorated Vietnam War pilot. You flew jets, you took down enemy planes, you got the Purple Heart because you got wounded, you got the Flying Cross, you got, I don't know what else you got. I respect you for that. But you're 90 years old. I admire you for what you've done, but do I trust you to fly the plane today? Not really. So this is another example of how I can respect you, but not trust you. And here's the bigger question. Can I trust someone that I don't respect? And this is really where everything started, because the question that I was confronted with was the definitive statement was that to trust someone, you have to respect them. And I'm asking, can you trust someone that you don't respect? Well, first of all, trust is not a subset of respect. So respect could be a subset of trust, but trust is not a subset of respect. Which means that essentially it's like if I can trust someone, I have to respect them because it's a subset. Well, I can respect one thing, but need trust in another thing. I already talked about that. So I may respect you for something that you've done, but where I need the trust is somewhere else. But I'm trying to find out where I trust you, but I just don't respect you. So for example, trust, there are different things that I can trust you with. For example, you're one of my employees or contractors, and I need you to show up tomorrow to do the work. History shows, I've been working with you for a long time, history shows that you are going to show up at work and do tomorrow and do the work. It's based on my experience with you. Does that amount to respect? Does that mean that I respect you? Well, maybe the level of work that I need from you is really just labor, but doesn't require any thinking, so I don't have any special admiration to your problem-solving skills. I just need, hate to say it, I just need your hands to do the work. And you've done that. So I trust you to do that. I trust you to show up tomorrow. I trust you to do the work. It's just that there's nothing that I respect in that. The other thing is, for example, I'll go back to a more extreme example, which is I don't know how much I respect the pilot who flies my plane. Do I have a lot of respect? I don't know them. I don't know the pilot. Nobody ever told me that our pilot was a combat pilot who rescued wounded soldiers in Afghanistan. Nobody told me that. So there's nothing that I will respect or admire in our pilot. But based on transferable trust law number 5, I trust the airline to have hired, trained, checked, and put this pilot in our plane because they trust them. And if I trust the airline, I trust the pilot. But I don't know the pilot enough to respect them. Which kind of brings another interesting point, and that is, I typically say that you trust 4 different entities, okay? It's kind of 3, but one of them is divided into 2. You trust yourself, you trust God, and you trust other people. And I break other people into 2 groups, and that's people you know and people you don't know. The pilot in our plane, never saw him before, never met him before, know nothing about him, so there's nothing for me to respect in them, but I trust him. Why do I trust him? Because the airline trusts him. Trust law number 5, trust is transferable. So there are circumstances where I would trust them, but there's nothing that amounts to respect. Now, you can say you're going to respect them because they went through all the pilot's training and so on. Okay, fine. Once again, trust is relative. I went through pilot's training. I went through other trainings. I don't expect to be respected for that. But it's a personal thing. And the other thing to keep in mind is that both trust and respect are continuous and not binary. It's not that I trust you or distrust you. It's not that I respect you or not respect you. Disrespect is something else. It's how much I trust you or how much I respect you. So once again, I'm going to buy a bracelet for my daughter at a street fair in Mexico. Do I trust the seller? Well, trust them with what? Trust them how much? I trust them very little. I don't know them, and they're going to disappear a moment after they took my money. But is it enough to give them the $10 and get a bracelet? Very little risk, very little reward. I trust them enough for that. Does it mean that I respect them? I mean, I don't know anything about them. What is it to respect? Oh, you're going to say, because they made this beautiful bracelet. No, they didn't make the bracelet. They're just selling it. Somebody else made. I have respect to the person who made the bracelet, but that's not the seller. How much trust do I really need for, and this is true in general for transactional interactions. You know, I just bought a new mattress. How much do I trust the salesperson? Well, that was a pretty significant purchase for me. And so I had to trust the salesperson, but really I trusted the salesperson because that salesperson was not an independent salesperson. They were working for a company. I trust the company, and I trust that if the salesperson would cheat me one way or another, that I can go back to the company and they will make it right. So specifically, I trust the salesperson because I gave my money to the salesperson. That's a transactional interaction. I'm not trying to build a long-term relationship and that I'm going to rely on for long term. Actually, I do rely on the customer service, but not on the specific salesperson. I rely on the company. How much respect do I have to this salesperson? Once again, I don't know them. I don't know anything about them. So I can trust someone without respecting them. Okay, I don't know why I thought this was going to be a long episode. We're just past the 22-minute mark, and essentially we're done. And I'm glad, because I would really rather have short episodes than longer episodes and convey an idea. You know, the words trust and respect, they seem to be the same, but they're not. They're two different things. There are areas in which respect could be a subset of trust, but trust is not a subset of respect. Both of them are contextual, both of them are relative, and both of them are continuous. I may trust you in one area and respect you in another. There are similarities between them as well as differences. I think one of the things that I showed you is that trust is narrower and deeper. Trust is forward-looking, whereas respect is more shallow but broad and more backward-looking. So there are differences between them. And yes, I think that in this episode, hopefully I convince you that I can trust someone without respecting them, and I can respect someone without trusting them. Well, that's it for today. I hope this made you think a little differently about trust, and this week about respect. May trust be with you. This was The Trust Show. What would you like to know about trust and trustworthiness? Let me know and I'll answer it in a future episode. I would love to hear from you. Email me at yoram@thetrustshow.com. If you like this episode, subscribe to the show so you will automatically get notified when I release a new episode. Rate it. Write a review for this podcast because those ratings help not only you, but also others looking for podcasts just like this. If you're looking for more resources to learn about how to build trust, be trusted, or know who to trust, look up my workshops, online courses, books, or go to my website, trusthabits.com. And remember that the answer to these two questions will have the biggest impact on your personal and professional success or failure. Can I trust you? And can you trust me? Thank you for listening, or watching The Trust Show.